in terms of the big trend over the next 10 years, I would say a little bit more nuance. And e-commerce, okay, but specifically, what is the impact of e-commerce going to be on real estate, and how is it that we define value in real estate, and how is it that we define functional obsolescence? What is the impact of e-commerce on functional obsolescence, and how do we invest around that and stay ahead of that rather than behind it?
Okay, good. Kristof.
The deal of the decade. I'm going to make it slightly personal and just dig from my own experience and refer to a transaction that was probably transformational for myself. And this is going back to 2006-07. The first build-to-suit project for Amazon that was done in Leipzig, and then the second one was in Orléans, south of Paris, was done by Goodman, at the time fighting to get a 10-year lease. And the response from Amazon was, seriously guys, our company isn't even 10 years old, and you expect us to commit for longer than we've already existed. Very interesting dynamic at the times. But that deal went through, allowed Goodman and the team I was working in at the time to sort of get to know this very interesting occupier 10 years ago almost, or 8 years ago, and led to a string of probably, I think, 12 further build-to-suits and 1.5 million square meters of Amazon developments that Goodman has done, and that I've been sort of continuously since I left Goodman. I've continued to work with Amazon, and I'm hoping we're still at the beginning of a very long journey ahead. So in terms of a transaction, I think that one was quite interesting, as being one of the first of a whole series of deals that we're now considering to be normal, but that was very special back in 2006 and 2007. And as a trend, I think that I'll just be acknowledge or confirm what Logan said. We're still in the day one of the internet, is what Jeff Bezos says. So I think we're also still in the day one of e-commerce and supply chain disruption that will follow from it.
Okay, good. Ingo.
Deal of the decade. I'm quite surprised about what is private equity money is doing, and I think with the time when private equity enters the segment, you see the difference in how much money, how much power is now in the sector, which means TPG bought P3, Blackstone, Logicor. So a lot of the big guys are now into the sector and driving it. And I think what is right to do is buying a platform, trying to do asset management and development, and doing pipelines. So this is for me new in the decade, which wasn't the fact the last 10 years. So a little bit of the change of money source in the sector is for me not the deal of the decade, but it's a change definitely in our daily business, and this will continue. Forward thinking, I think yes, e-commerce will change a lot. E-commerce of distribution as well as supply chain production. I think we will see a lot of change in manufacturing and production over the next years, because Industry 4.0, 3D printers, so a lot of things will happen over that as well. So the manufacturing side of the future will be definitely something different than what we see it now, what we experience now. So there's a lot of things which will be changed. On the other hand, I think the sentiment is still good, and the outlook is definitely positive. And what Tristram said before, we are in the growing sector of real estate with a lot of, I would say, challenges. But I think it's positive and definitely exciting for the next months and years.
Great. Tristram.
Being the last, everybody said what I was going to say. I could turn around and start saying beds into sheds. I don't know, but that's probably something that's looking at what might well be coming.
I have slept in a shed once. but that's a different story.
Well, yeah. I'm just wondering about what might be coming with Europe's major migration issues, which, on the serious side, you wonder where that's going. But three things I go for. One, I think, rather than deal of the decade, I think it was, echoing what Ingo was saying, it was Blackstone's entry into the market in Logical, which has obviously had a major impact on what's hoovering up so much investment stock. We've said e-commerce, but I'm going to call it a bit more urban logistics, and the focus on urban logistics, which is e-commerce, which is delivery to that point of use, is going to be the big thing going forward. Kevin's bit about ordering from this office and they're coming from East London. Again, that's urban logistics. It's demonstrating what's happening now. That's only going to go and get, I think, even more extreme. And then come back to one of Ingo's comments, what happens with maybe onshoring with 3D printing and the like. How much manufacturing and others will be brought back to Europe with 3D printing and others, and that could have a major impact going forward, though not everything can be built with a 3D printer, which I think a lot of people think it can be. You start talking to the guys who actually are involved in that technology. It does have its limitations, albeit it's very, very exciting.
But I think Logicor is a great example because they took the capital markets interest in the sector to another level. I would, in addition to that one, I would go back a little bit further to maybe the first wave of that and say the IPO of Prologis European Properties, the creation and IPO of Prologis European Properties, which in many ways was the start of the sector and really legitimized it from, and kind of, I think was on the vanguard of turning it into a legitimate institutional sector. And I think what Logicor came along and did, or Blackstone did with Logicor, was the next chapter of that, effectively. Those together I would pick as the deal of the decade for the sector.
Thank you also to the panel for giving up your time and your views. Thank you very much.